Matt?
So early season's come and gone. The guns have just stopped firing and the smell of gunpowder is just leaving the air. So here we are, sitting in late season with an unfilled tag. How the heck did that happen? Well, there's two things you can do. You can sit down and suck your thumb, or you can get out hunting. I would suggest getting out hunting, because to me, late season is one of the very best times to kill a mature buck. And ironically, it's the time period that most big buck hunters have already hung it up. It's only the true hardcore guys that still have a tag that are going out and bearing this cold weather. There's some really good points to hunt in late season. Now it can be feast or famine. A lot of times you're either in all the deer or you're in nothing. The deer at this time of the year are very patternable, much more than other time periods of the year. Now you hear us talking about patterns all the time, but it's a struggle to get a deer on a pattern. You gotta hunt them right away before they change that pattern. And they might do something for 2 or 3 days, the wind changes and they change their pattern, and you gotta go find them. Well, in late season, that's not as much the case. These bucks are worn down from the rut. They've used all their resources. They're in the worst condition in the herd than any other animal. And they're out seeking food. They're trying to put their fat reserves on so they can make it through the winter. These bucks get on a pattern, and all the deer get on a pattern at that time of the year of bed and food. And they bed as close to the food as they can find secure bedding. And they'll stay on this pattern until you bump them. Now there's some troubles with that too. They will bed in a way where they're on the edge of a field with the wind to the back, watching the food. You walk down there to set up, they know you're there, and they're gone. They either become nocturnal or they go find some other food source. So one of the big ways to combat that is to sit back and watch it for a day before you go in there and hunt. See where they're coming from. See what you can get away with. See where you can go. Observe the place before you hunt it. One of the biggest issues hunters have at this time of the year is they'll tell me, I went out and looked around, Dan. There's no big bucks on my property. There's not a track. Well, yeah, get out of your little box. Go out and find them. These deer are going to be on your property or not on your property. They're going to be wherever the preferred food source is, and all the deer are going to be there. You're going to have a lot of eyes on you when you're hunting. You got to go find those deer. So get out of your little box. The good part is it's easy. There's snow on the ground. You can see cornfields. You can see dogwood brush that they chew on. You just go out and find their tracks and stuff. Find where they're crossing roads. Drive around some public properties. Look at where the deer are. Once you find those deer, sit back and watch them. Or cut the right tracks and move in if you can't observe it because it's too thick or something. Most of the time, by late season, I'm tagged out. But whenever I'm not, it's some of the best hunting I've ever had. I think about last season. I was on a big buck, and he was all over the place with acorns, with corn, with crops, with this, with that. But late season comes around, I still ain't got him, and he's been outsmarting me. Now all those food sources are gone, and really all he had left was dogwood, and everything was pretty open. There's very little cover he could be in, but where is he? Really, it was pretty easy to figure out because I just walked the hiking trails that go through this conservancy property and checked where he was crossing and coming from. And I was able to look at his tracks and see where he was bedding. Then we just moved in for the kill. Last season, I hunted a big buck all the way up and into late season. And there was always a little mystery about where he was bedding, how he was going, until we had snow. And then this was a conservancy property, and it had trails going around it that were hiking trails where people could observe wildlife and stuff. And people really just walked those trails and didn't get off of them. But there wasn't a lot of hiking on those trails, maybe 2 times a week or something. But it was enough that the deer were used to people on those trails. So my mindset was to walk those trails where deer would put up with me after a fresh snow and look at where his tracks were. He had a big, unique track. When I found his tracks and I figured out the area he was coming from, we set up Mario in there, and I moved over to set up on the back side. So Mario sat one side and I sat the other side, and we thought the deer were bedding here, and tracks were coming out like this. So the buck never shows. So we do it a couple times, he never shows. So we leave, we stop hunting there, and lo and behold, the buck comes back. Starts using the pattern again. So I sat down with Mario and we discussed this, and we felt that that buck was bed in some place where he was watching us access those spots. So we backed up a little bit. And sure enough, that buck comes showing up with a whole bunch of other deer, and it turns out he was bedding right there, watching our access, watching the hiking trail. So just because you didn't get a buck in early season or rut or whenever you think you should be hunting, don't think that this is the time of the year to be ice fishing. This is the time of the year to be killing big bucks. This is the best time to pattern a big whitetail. So get out there and do it.
Yeah, you don't even need your hand. That's my size 13 boot right there. Look at the size of that track. That's the one we're after, and there's one of his tracks up there too, next to this boot print, going in the other direction. Yeah. Both directions right here.
Right here, we got another one too, splayed out.
Oh yeah?
Look at that.
Look at the size of that.
Matt!
Holy fuck. Got me another one. Holy crap. January 13th, end of the season. Two old warriors met in the swamp today. Only one's coming out alive. Time to call the pallbearers. got a lot of mass. Oh, look at those giant feet. This is the buck. It's not the 10-pointer I thought it was, but this is the buck that was leaving the tracks. I got him. Wow, that's a massive buck. Look at that. Nice. Obviously mature. Look at how big he is. That's the buck we're seeing the tracks from. What a long, grueling season. And a great way to end it. Wow. Wow, got mass all the way to the ends. What a nice buck.
What do you got there, Dan?
What do you think, Mario? We did it, man.
I think the plan came together is what I think.
Look at the mass on that thing, eh?
It's unbelievable.
You look at the length of this thing's body. This is the one that was leaving those long stride tracks. I mean, this is the target buck.
Yep.
Look at the mass on him. I mean, he's got a smaller width of a rack and the stubbier tines. I mean, they're only like 9 or 10 inches. But it's obviously an old buck going downhill. Look at this mass out here.
Yep.
I mean, this is as big as my wrist in here.
Yeah.
It's just so cool to get this done at the end here in
We got
January.
I know.
It was such a bad season that, you know, I just couldn't get on the big ones and letting the little ones go, and finally it paid off right at the end.
That snowfall that we had put us on where these bucks were traveling and what bedding area we thought
Yep.
they were sitting in. And
Absolutely.
a couple little sits, and it got us general direction of where they were probably coming from.
What does it revolve around again? A day of scouting is why we got this buck. And
Yep.
you almost got him by your tree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Can you see this, or is it too dark?
Oh no, I can see him.
You know, he came in nervous as hell from you, and I knew something was up. He either got your wind or he saw you or something, and he was real fidgety. I didn't think I was going to get him because he was on pins and needles. And I moved once, and you know how that cold is when you're against a tree, you get that little snap,
Yep.
and he just froze. And I thought, oh man, he's going to bust me. And then when he got to a spot where I could pull the bow back, I got the bow back, and it seemed like he caught me getting the bow back. But I just waited, and he stepped out, and I just stayed on him. And this stuff is thicker than it looks. I don't know if that'll show up on the video, but it's just wires everywhere. And it's a good thing he came in broad daylight, because I had to wait for a perfect opening to shoot. And then I think I might have still clipped something because I hit him real high and he dropped in his tracks, and I had to put one more in him. But what a way to end the season. We got
What a way.
nose on him.
Big, old, heavy racked, mature buck.
You know, I've been having a horrible just couple of weeks here with all, everything that's going on around me, and this just makes my day. You know, maybe we're on a turnaround here.
Yep.
Yeah, this is great.
That is a beautiful buck. We
I know,
put
we gotta
the
do you
we
one.
put
only
the
got
one.
a few days left.
I know.
What do you got? A couple days to hunt.
Yeah.
But now you know what? We got a couple more targets.
And we know where they're coming out. And even though they spooked, you know, they weren't spooked on where they came out. And I saw exactly where they crossed the trail.
So now this
Actually-
is obviously the biggest, oldest buck. But were any of those other bucks that were younger, bigger racked?
So we'll have to check the footage when they were running by me at about 300 miles an hour. But there's one that's wider, not as heavy as him, but nice buck. We'll have to check the footage.
You know what's interesting too? Ever since I got over here, all I can smell is rut stink.
Yeah.
I think these things were actually chasing does.
They, when they came out, again, I'll have to check the footage for exact count because they ran past me so fast, but there were 4 doe in front of 3 other bucks that were with him.
Okay.
If
Because he smells like rut. Something must have came in heat late.
Yeah. Yep.
You can smell it. You can smell the hocks on him all the way from over here.
Yeah.
It smells like a bottle of Tinks.
I could hear them coming from our west for about 10 minutes. And when I came in today, I actually accessed through the pines. And when I accessed through the pines, I just came out to the opening to get on the human trail, and a whole gaggle of deer got up and started moving in those cattails. So I backed out and I looped around and went through the woods to my spot. I didn't walk the human trail. I think these things were bedding just off of that grove of pines.
Get a picture and I'll get an interview with you.
Yeah.
You can tell your whole story, that I don't have to have clips of me looking at the camera while you talk.
All right. Full sled tonight, Dan.
We're under a mile now.